Tonight on Reel to Reel, we'll travel to New York to hear the inspirational stories of men and women who have lost their spouses and together have learned to live again.
And we'll meet the founder and organizer of an unusual square dance group, the Choice City Wheelers.
Dr. Richard Fitzgibbons will be along to talk about coping with angry people.
And we'll meet a Dallas, Texas priest with a hobby that is very much in demand. All that and much more tonight. Hello, I'm Father Dave McAllen.
And I'm Isabel Gauvery. Welcome to Reel to Reel.
Good evening, and as always, thank you for spending part of your Sunday evening with us. We'll start off tonight with a very serious subject that has all too often received little attention. With the divorce rate being such as it is in America, it's very easy for a divorced person to find a way back into society through support and social groups designed specifically for divorced men and women.
But what happens to the men and women who find themselves alone at an early age because death has taken their spouse from them? Their separation is not a voluntary one, but one filled with grief, anger, and pain. Where do they go to learn to live again?
Up first tonight, we have the story of a group of widowed New Yorkers who joined forces to help themselves and others like them begin to live again.
My husband died 4 years ago. I have 2 children. They are now 2 boys, 5 and 8 years old.
I'm 40 years old. I've been widowed about 3 years now. I recently, within the last 2 weeks, remarried. I have 2 boys that are 11 and 14 now.
I'm 38 years old and I've been widowed 5 years.
I've been widowed for 2.5 years. During that time, I've been trying to raise my 2 children alone.
When my husband died, I died. The person I was died. I had to find a whole new identity. I was still the children's mother and I still took care of them constantly, but there was no person with me, sharing with me, talking to me, and I miss that very much.
It is very lonely and it's very hard to be by yourself. And I was widowed at the age of 29 and I just kept thinking about being alone for maybe another 50 years.
These 4 people have each experienced a tremendous personal tragedy, the death of a husband or wife. Unlike the stereotypical widow or widower, they are young, with small children, and most of their lives are still ahead of them. Roberta Epperhart, Jim O'Neill, Michelle Peterson, and Claire DeGeorge Vitale each had to confront the difficult emotional task of re-entering society as a single person.
Once you're widowed in the early stages and you do go to a bereavement group, it really doesn't matter what age you are because the pain that you feel is the same. But once you want to go out and socialize, you have different needs.
And after going to a bereavement group for about 7 or 8 months, I realized that I couldn't keep reiterating the beginning stages of grief. I had then to go on to something different. I didn't quite know whether or not I was ready to emerge into a full social life, but I knew certainly I was ready to have some type of social involvement other than sitting around and listening to everybody's grief from day one.
I felt the need that I could no longer be without other human contact, other human beings to share and talk to. I would find something exciting happening to me or something sad happening to me, and I would turn around and there would be no one to tell. I felt no one was really interested the way a spouse would be interested, so I would keep it in. And I found it was harder for me to relate to other adults. And I finally said I didn't like what was happening, that it was time to be with other people again. And I very difficultly pushed myself out the door.
Very few communities have groups geared toward the special needs of those widowed at a young age.
I think older widowed people, the ones that I've met in a bereavement group, in different types of bereavement groups, can never foresee having another life again. I think they feel that they had the one love in their life, and they've had their children, and now they have their grandchildren, and now they'll just have to go on life being single. I think younger widowed people who have young children know that they have to participate in the process of life and that life is change, and they're more willing to make that change than perhaps older widowed people are.
Shortly after I was widowed, at that time I was living in Connecticut. And one day in the mail I received a correspondence that indicated that there was a widowed group in Connecticut. And basically because I was just starting to go out again, I decided to give them a call and see if they offered anything. And the first question I asked was, what is their age group, their average age? And I was told 65. And I said, thank you, but no thank you, and that was it. And then I went out and dated on my own. But I really, at that time, I think I would have been very open to a younger social group.
One of the hardest things to do when you're single again is to go out and meet people. And I think it is a big concern for people because they do, especially in a younger age group, they do want to go out and start their life over again. And it's hard to go out into the bar scene or anywhere else and meet people. So with our group, we feel that it's a very non-threatening way for people to get together and start to talk to each other and feel comfortable with each other.
Their group is the Young Widowed Social Group. Seeing a need for social activities among the young widowed, the Diocese of Rockville Center, New York, offered space and seed money to get a group started. The group's founders did the rest.
I would say most of the people are in their late 30s or early 40s, and most of them had been married for 15 or 20 years. So it's very difficult to get thrown back into that single scene again. So this is really a way of just starting all over again.
The Young Widowed Social Group has monthly meetings and arranges various social activities, all open to widowed under the age of 50.
I think for most people it's been a step forward. And when we had our first actual social event outside of our regular meeting, you could see people laughing and you could see people beginning to participate in life again. And that's really what our objective is for them, to get people to participate in life again.
I think the social part of it that gives people a chance to actually talk to someone they have never met before in a non-threatening way has been very beneficial to all of us.
Jim O'Neill and Roberta Epperhart are soon to be married. They met in a bereavement group and went on to become founding members of the Young Widowed Social Group.
I've gotten so much satisfaction starting this group. A woman called me after our first meeting, and she said that it was the best day in her life since her husband had died, that she felt that there was new hope for her future, and she felt so much better about things. And after that phone call, I just felt that all the work and all the time was worth everything to me, and I wouldn't give it up for anything.
The thing that I've noticed about the Young Widowed Social Group is the number of people who make the comment that this is so important to them, that they really appreciate that there is such a group in existence, and they really feel good about it, not only because they know there are the widowed people in the group, but because they feel that they don't have to justify anything.
For those people that are searching and trying to find a way back into society, or as I say, to begin to live again, something of this nature is very, very important, to be able to have someone, something to share yourself with. It's been a lifesaver for me.
You can sit home forever and feel sorry for yourself and nothing will ever happen with your life again. But if you want to make a change, you have to do it. We hope to be the vehicle through which a lot of people can make the change.
Good story. If you're sharing any of the feelings you've just heard expressed, believe me, you're not alone, and you can get help.
Just contact the Family Life Bureau in your diocese, and they'll put you in touch with others just like you in your area.
Right now, let's take a short break.
But don't go away, there's more to come, so stay with us.
At the Donahue Funeral Home, we're always gratified to hear from the families we serve. Over the years, many bereaved families have told us how much they appreciated the warm, home-like atmosphere of the Donahue Funeral Home. To make such moments perhaps a little less difficult, the Donahue Funeral Home suggests that you discuss with us now, in the privacy of your home, pre-arrangement and the financial advantages and peace of mind it brings. That's what living is all about.
The last time we heard from Dr. Richard Fitzgibbons, he spoke about dealing with angry people. The helpful tips he gave were for situations where a person is angry and needs to show that anger.
But what happens when a person is angry and refuses to allow themselves to show that anger? This situation is called passive-aggressive anger and can often cause more problems than a direct, expressed anger. Here's Dr. Richard Fitzgibbons with more.
Today on Relationships, we're going to discuss coping with people who express their anger in passive-aggressive ways. That is, in people who express their anger in very sneaky ways. They want to trick you and me. They want us to believe that they're not angry, when in fact they are very angry. Now, these people deliberately set out to be angry. They don't just automatically become angry like many of us can do at times. They plan, they calculate ahead how they're going to express their anger. And here are some of the many ways in which they do it. They're regularly late. They don't want to be responsible for anything or anyone. They make mistakes deliberately. They try to be forgetful. They pretend that they don't hear what you're saying to them. They're complainers and whiners. They can drive you crazy with their whining and complaining. They try to fail in their job or in school, and many, many other ways. Again, to really identify these people, you have to be somewhat of a detective because they are skilled actors and actresses. Now, you might ask yourself, why is it that people would express their anger in such a sneaky way? Why can't they just be above board and honest and say to us, look, I'm upset with you, I'm disappointed, let's talk about it, let's deal with it? Several reasons. First, for many people, some people, it tends to be a little bit easier to express their anger in this sneaky way. They don't have to get as worked up about it. Secondly, there are people who express anger in this way because they feel inferior, they feel down, and when they express their anger in this way, they think they can pull the wool over other people's eyes. They can fake people, that they're smarter and sharper than they are. And the third reason is that some people express their anger in this way because they want to control people, but they don't want other people to know that that's what they're doing. There are a lot of people who move into the sick role, that is, they act sick when they're not that sick as a way to control people. Okay, now if you're dealing with such a person, how can you cope with their anger? First, try to understand that they really are angry, and try to look through their mask. Second, tell them that the jig is up. You know that they're angry. You don't care if they have the sweet smile on. You know that they're being manipulative. They're deliberately being late. For example, there are many people who come into church late, Mass late on Sundays. Many of these people aren't lazy. They're angry. They want to be in control. Okay, once you've recognized the anger, then consider telling the person, look, again, I know you're angry. Now be careful here, though, because their response to you might be, do I look like I'm angry? Do I seem like I'm angry? They've got this mask on. And tell them, yes, your behavior tells me you're angry, even though your face doesn't look like it's angry. Then you might consider telling them that their anger is ultimately going to backfire on them. It's going to hurt them more than it's going to hurt you. They, in fact, are controlled by the people whom they are angry with. Next, you might tell them that unless they change, you're going to have to move away from them. I treated one couple with a man deliberately kept his house like a pigsty, and it was only when his wife said, I'm going to divorce you, that he got his act together and began to be more honest with his anger. And finally, there's every reason in the world to feel very sorry for these people, because when you hold on to anger, you don't love, and you have a limited ability to receive love. We can really feel sorry for these people. These people can be helped by us. We need to pressure them, to confront them, and to tell them it's better to love and to enjoy loving than to enjoy expressing anger constantly.
We all try to find hobbies for ourselves to keep us busy during those idle or stressful times. A hobby is something to take our minds off the concerns of the day and give us that well-deserved time to relax.
But some hobbies, if you're really good at it, can become a little more than just a hobby.
You have to be able to enjoy what you're doing. So I'm happy when I'm doing this.
When he's not busy fulfilling his parish duties, Father B.G. Eads fills his time with making needlepoint tapestries, an activity he does mainly for relaxation.
I think that this, like painting, has to be relaxing. If you're going to get all uptight, you know, doing it, then you better find something else to do.
Father Eads is the pastor of St. Jude's Church in Cedar Creek Lake, Texas. He's been a priest for 13 years and been stitching all that time.
I just picked it up and found out the principle of it and what was to be done and just took it from there. It really wasn't anything that someone actually taught me to do it all.
Designing the work is Father Eads' favorite part of the process. His interest in art stems from a background as an art teacher and owner of an advertising agency. His designs are as striking as the intricacy of his stitching. Though needlepoint began as just a hobby for Father Eads, his fine work earned him a reputation for quality. In time, he began receiving commissions from local pastors to adorn their churches with intricate tapestries. One of Father Eads' largest undertakings is the tapestry in the Cathedral Shrine of Guadalupe in downtown Dallas. The work is 6 feet wide and 26 feet high, and took over 3 months of day and night stitching. It contains 87 miles of thread in some 425 shades. Father Eads has many other projects lined up for the future. Projects he's in no hurry to complete.
It's well not to have to be that rushed with handwork. It may look like it's magic, but it really isn't. I just don't have as much time as I'd like to really work on all these things, but still when I'm doing it, I'm quite happy about it.
My dad used to try his hand at that. If you're interested in Father's work, write or call us here at Reel to Reel, and we'll give you an address where you can reach him.
We'll have our address at the end of the show, but right now, let's take a short break.
Don't go away, there's more to come.
The House of Charity can be found at work throughout South Jersey, wherever there is suffering and distress. Through its agencies, compassionate care goes to the elderly. The needy receive food and clothing. Special education programs administer to the mentally handicapped. Expectant mothers receive pre- and postnatal care, and medical services are rendered to the ill. Support the House of Charity in South Jersey. Touch someone's life with love.
Over the years here at Reel to Reel, we've brought you many a story of courage and strength of handicapped people rising above their disability to become successful business people, students, and performers. But, and I can say this with authority, we've never brought you a story like our next one.
This is the story of Colorado resident Bobby Guy. After fighting her way through a bone marrow disease and an almost fatal electrical accident, Bobby has gone on to help other handicapped and wheelchair-bound people to, of all things, learn to square dance.
Meet Bobby Guy. She is a mother, grandmother, award-winning volunteer, newsletter publisher, civic leader, part-time worker, and handicapped.
My main concentration of work doing volunteer things has to do with improving the quality of life for the disabled community. And these include advocacy, removal of attitudinal and architectural barriers, enforcement of Section 504, which is the handicapped civil rights. There is a constant need for keeping people alerted to the needs of the handicapped.
Born and raised in Colorado, she now calls Fort Collins home, working as project specialist at the Handicapped Information Office. The combination of a congenital disorder and an infection she contracted in her early 20s took its toll. She has been wheelchair-bound with only partial eyesight and in considerable pain for most of her adult life.
Scoliosis was the origin of my disability. I had back problems during my entire life, but I worked and rode horses and helped on the ranch. We didn't know that the problem was so severe until I tried to have children. And after the second one was taken cesarean, I had surgery on my spine and developed staphylococci infection, which went into the bone marrow. And so that traveled throughout my body, and that's the source of the pain, and also partially destroyed my eyesight.
Divorced now, Bobby lives alone, but not without help.
I have a lady that comes in 5 days a week to help me with personal grooming, bathing and dressing, my laundry, house cleaning, grocery shopping, some cooking, furnishes my transportation, but that is the only way that I can stay in my own home. I don't think I myself could survive in a nursing home just because I am of an independent nature. Being alone and having to manage for myself, I started looking into ways to remain independent without having to go to some type of a home or something for the daily help that I need. As I was able to solve my problems, I automatically became interested in helping others solve their problems too. The more I got involved, the more there was to do. It's a constant struggle for progress for handicapped citizens to try to mainstream into society.
That commitment has led her to chair the Fort Collins Commission on Disability, where she gives advice on accessibility and also makes sure civil rights for the disabled are enforced.
Handicapped people do not want to be treated special. We'd like to just fall in line with everybody else, be able to do the same things and use the same things.
Bobby Guy grew up square dancing and missed it when she became confined to a wheelchair. Missed it, that is, until she organized the Choice City Wheelers.
Our group is comprised not only of disabled people, but also able-bodied. There is a lot of enthusiasm with the people who are in it. It is a lot of fun, and it's a relaxation, it's a social contact.
Bobby has been tested more than once in her life. Through a freak accident, she was almost electrocuted.
I was not educated in religion as a child. And it wasn't until I was facing death that I really felt the strength of the Lord. My husband was down at the lower ranch, just the two children and I at home.
A neighbor, knowing Bobby was in a wheelchair and alone with the children, phoned to check on her. To answer the phone, Bobby moved from her chair to a metal stool with her foot braced against the sink. Electricity had just been connected to their mountain ranch. During the conversation, the phone shorted out and the electricity went through Bobby.
I was grounded on the water pipes, and it went out this leg and then burned back up in it. And I couldn't move. I could only move my head. And it was at that time that I prayed to die or to get loose.
As she fainted and fell, the connection broke. The years that followed brought many brushes with death through the effects of the osteomyelitis. She had constant pain, abscesses in her spine, and 12 surgeries.
Sometimes the pain would be so bad that I would again pray to die. But at one time the doctors limited my life to 2 months, and it was at that point that I decided I didn't want to die, and I found my strength with the Lord.
This is Danny Brady. This guy, what he can.
Every December, Bobby attends the National Finals Rodeo as a freelance writer and as editor and publisher of the Rodeo Media Association newsletter.
I was raised on a ranch and had ridden horses all my life. I used to ride bulls.
Rodeos, ranching, and riding were all a part of Bobby's life.
I married a man who was raised on a ranch, had cowboyed, and in later years we got into professional horse training. When I became disabled and couldn't ride as much as I used to, I searched for ways to get back into that activity.
That search not only got her on top of a horse again, it also reached out to other disabled riders. In 1983, she was instrumental in starting a program called Let's Ride.
We have riders of all ages with all disabilities. The therapeutic and recreational aspects are what we try to stress.
Hey, when you make your horse stop, you're going to pull towards your belt.
The actual physical contact with a live animal is very beneficial to handicapped people. Four legs can take you where four wheels will not ever go. I feel the last 5 years there has been great progress made in the handicapped people being accepted into society.
With champions like Bobby Guy fighting for their cause, the disabled will win out.
Belle, do you realize that this is June 1st? Another summer is already upon us, and soon we'll be heading to the great outdoors for vacation time.
And while all of you are out there having fun, do you know what we'll be doing?
Having fun too, right?
Wrong. We'll be working. Although we will be off the air during the month of August, that time will be put to good use getting ready to bring you another season here at Reel to Reel in September.
And we've already started looking ahead. Last month, we taped new shows with Father Tom Legere at Villanova University, and we'll be airing them once a month, starting in September.
But as always, we can use your help by letting us know what you like and don't like about Reel to Reel.
That's why your cards and letters are so important to us. They tell us what you think. So if you've never written to us, take a few moments and drop us a line. You can reach us here at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103. That's Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103.
Or call during business hours, 215-668-9842. That's 215-668-9842. And join us next week as we travel to San Diego, California for a visit to the Hilton of Shelters.
And to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to see just a few of over 5,000 relics at St. Anthony's Chapel.
Mike Gallagher will look at another age-old relic, the Wizard of Oz.
And we'll meet Nicholas Pappas, an artist preserving the timeless art of iconography.
So join us again next week. Good night.
Good night. And remember, Jesus is Lord.
Travel arrangements for Reel to Reel by Atkinson and Mullen Travel of Media, PA. Phone area 215-565-7070.
A year ago, the Priest Prayer Group decided to come to Incarnation Parish every first Thursday.
Since then, hundreds gather every month for a prayer meeting and Mass. Afterwards, the priests lay hands for healing and other gifts. And people tell their stories of how God has changed their lives at Incarnation.
The charismatic gifts are abundant. The music is powerful. Why don't you come this Thursday, 7:30 to 9:30 at Incarnation Parish, 5th Street, 4 blocks north of Roosevelt Boulevard.